we're going to be making today is a ginger tea. And let's talk a little bit about ginger, just in case you may or may not be familiar with it. When you go into the store, this is normally how you're going to see it. If it's not packaged like this, it's going to be actually laying up there in the produce section at room temperature for you to then purchase. So I say, well, I'm going to take this from the very top, pretending as if you went to the store and you got it packaged. This particular ginger, this is ginger from Peru. It happened to be at the store that we purchased it at, and it is completely in its natural state, just short of taking it from the earth. And so what we want to do is show you how to process it. And while we're processing it and letting that water work for the tea, I want to explain to you by God's grace why you want to take this tea and a powerful, powerful benefit that you may not be aware of. So when we've got the ginger here, this ginger root, we're tearing open our package here. And when you look at it, it almost looks like hands. And this is interesting. It kind of looks like a set of hands where you have the palm in here, and then you have these fingers that are kind of branching out. Why is that important? Why is that an awesome testimony? Because one of the things that you'll notice in nature is that a lot of times the foods and the way that God designed them, they actually look like the body parts or that body system that it would benefit. So when you're taking a look at a piece of ginger, for example, you kind of see these branches shooting out. When you think of a body system, pretty much all of our systems start at the center, then they branch out. That's why ginger is such a blessing for the digestive system. That's why ginger is beneficial for the circulatory system. And it's even beneficial for the systems in our bodies that get rid of toxins, the lymphatic system, and the systems that remove waste, get it out of our body, away from the body, so that disease and toxicity cannot set in. So these are just, again, just by looking at the ginger, you kind of get an idea of what it benefits. But that's not even another benefit that we haven't mentioned that I'm going to show you in just a couple of seconds. Well, I shouldn't say a couple of seconds, in a couple of minutes. Another benefit, keeping that in mind, how it looks like a system. Now, normally when you get the ginger, it's going to have these ginger, like this is the ginger skin. The skin of ginger is not like the skin of, say, like an orange or a lemon or something like that. It's almost something like you would think about in terms of an onion. It's very thin, but it doesn't have the smell. So when it comes to eating ginger or using ginger, you really don't have to skin it. You can use it in the pieces and process it that way as well. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to set our ginger aside now that we've taken that out of its pack. Now we're going to get our water ready. We're going to go ahead and put our water on to boil. Now, if you want to, if you've got your water preference, whatever water you use, you can use that. If you want to use tap, fine. If you want to use purified water, that's fine too. Just as long as it's clean water to actually make the tea. So we're going to go ahead and get a little bit of water here into our kettle and get this to start to boiling, because we're going to bring our water to a boil and then allow the ginger to steep in that water. So let me turn it up here. We're going to try and get this going and get that to whistling. Now, while our water is getting ready to whistle, let's get our ginger ready to be steeped. What do I mean when I say steep? That's basically when you take something and you let it sit in that hot water. You know, different than if you're boiling something like boiling rice or boiling noodles. You want to bring that water up to a boil to actually break down that food product. With steeping, you want heat to the actual thing that you're steeping, but you don't want to break it down. I'm not trying to eat the ginger. I'm trying to extract something from it, and heat allows us to do that. So we're going to take our ginger hand, if you will, and you need about an inch's worth of ginger. So what's an inch? One of the rules of thumb, or I say fingers of rules that I use, is that if you think about the line on the first part of your finger, whichever finger, and that space there to the tip of the finger, that's about an inch. I know everybody's hands are different sizes, but if you think about how much ginger do I need, think about that first section or that first segment on your finger. That's how much ginger you're going to need. So when I look at this, I take my finger here and I take one of these pieces of ginger here, this end on the bulb, that's almost exactly to right here. That's about an inch. So this is the piece that we're going to process. What do I mean by process? If your ginger has been store-bought, it's usually been cleaned. Obviously, if you planted it or you harvest it from the ground, you're going to want to rinse it off. So even though this is a store-bought ginger, and I'm going to break off this inch piece here, I'm going to clean it. I'm going to give it a rinse. just to be sure that nothing is on it. I don't have to, but again, just to be sure. Now, you might not be a fan of how the skin looks because we're not consuming it. It's not as big. When I say consuming, I'm talking about actually eating and chewing it. It's not a big a deal as if it's not skin. But just to show you, how do you skin ginger? Again, I don't have the knife skills that other pros might have where they can actually go through and skin that piece of ginger. What you can also do is take the ginger and you can use a peeler or a potato peeler. And you just basically gently peel off the outer portion. And you have to be careful because of the way ginger, the size of it, it's not as big as a potato. So you do increase your risk if you rush of maybe nicking your finger. So just take your time and just work around. And what you will see and smell is good ginger. Because when you look at this ginger, it kind of has like a yellow tint to it. It's not as yellow as something like a turmeric, but it's pretty golden. And so what I've done is I've taken all of the skin off, which again is totally edible. It won't do anything wrong if you were to consume it, but it's just not good to the palate because of the fibrous nature of it. So I've skinned it, and now I've got about a 1-inch piece. This is what I would need. And when as soon as you take the skin off, when you really break it off, you're going to get that ginger smell. What does ginger smell like? It almost smells like a cross between a lemon and a pepper because it kind of has a bright scent, but there is a peppery note to ginger, which makes it, quote, spicy or hot when you are putting it in your food or in your dishes. So be mindful of that. It's not on the scale of like a cayenne or jalapeno pepper, but it does have a little spice to it. And that's really good because remember, whenever we're eating foods or herbs that have that heat to them, that heat has a purpose. The purpose of that heat is to break down those germs, kill that bacteria, and yes, fight those viruses that might get into your body. So don't be afraid of the fire. It's for our good. So this is not hot, remember, but it does have a little spice to it when you do consume it. So I've taken this piece here and I've skinned it. I'm gonna break off another hand, quote unquote hand, and I'm gonna let this one stay skinned. All right. I've used my inch measurer. That's a little bit longer, a little bit bigger than an inch, but that's okay. You have to eat a lot of ginger to, quote, eat too much. In fact, most dietitians say takes about 4 grams of ginger to consume to experience side effects. And those side effects are normally just kind of like an upset stomach. And you might even experience a little bit of lightheadedness because one of the benefits of ginger is that it lowers the blood pressure. Now, if it lowers it too much, again, the blood is too thin or gets thin too well, then of course, if the blood level gets low, obviously that's where the lightheadedness can come in. But again, you have to eat a whole lot of ginger, like this. You don't need to eat this much. This is our little 1-inch finger. You're going to be fine because this is a tea that you ideally want to drink either early in the morning, first thing, or at night before you go to sleep. Because what is the big benefit of ginger? Natural ginger, fresh ginger has a diuretic effect. What does it mean? What do we mean when we say diuretic? I used to hear that growing up thinking that, oh, it makes you lose weight because it's like a diet herb, right? No, diuretic in the sense that it excretes or it takes away water. Now, I know as we get older, this is a big deal because as we age, the vessels lose their strength. And those vessels, because they lose their strength, one of the things that we get susceptible to as we age is not just water retention, but water gathering again in those areas of the body where it used to just not be an issue because the valves and those vessels were tight. Well, when we age, when we notice that we start to see our feet swelling, or we start to see our hands swelling. It's not just, oh, we throw our hands up in the air and just say, well, I'm getting old. It just has to be that way. No, it's your body's way of letting you know, yes, you may be aging, but it's also letting you know that the body is letting off fluid. It's trying to detox, and there's nowhere for that water to go. There's nowhere for that fluid to escape, so you retain it. You hold on to it. So it might end up in your hands. It might end up in your arms. It might end up in your feet or in your joints. And it could, worse yet, even end up in the respiratory area. We don't want that. So what the Lord has done, he's given us a natural way to actually remove water or to take water and even this excess sodium that we may consume that's then holding on or helping us to retain that water. And ginger is one of those herbs. It's probably number one, number two. There are some other ones like hawthorn and dandelion, But again, it's probably going to be harder to do a video on dandelion tea because you may not want to go outside and get some dandelions. That's why we want to show you how to make your own ginger tea. So if you are watching this, you're over 60, or you're having water retention or fluid retention, this is a way up. It's a way to get that fluid off, and the ginger is going to help you do it. Not only is the ginger going to help you do that as far as water retention, it also helps purify and cleanse those kidneys. This is key because that's the main job of the kidney, to help detoxify the body. And the ginger is going to help the kidneys do that work. So these are all the blessings. These are all the benefits. I'm starting to hear a little bit of a whistle. Let's get back to how we're going to prep this tea. Because now that we've got our tea, I'm going to take away the skin here. It's not tea, but we got our ginger for the tea. This one has not been skinned. This one is skinned. All you need to do now is slice the ginger. Now, when I say slice it, you can go one of two ways. You can go lengthwise or you can go across. It's up to you. But when you're slicing it, I like to get that thin slice. Why? Because it's going to make it easier for that heat, that hot water to get in there and to leach out those benefits that I'm trying to get from the tea. All right. So what I'm going to do is trying to make a thin slice. When I say thin, I'm talking about the thickness of a dime or a penny, if you can get that thin. If you can't get that thin, it's okay. Just slice it the best you can. And even if you're in a situation like, Chris, my arms or my hands hurt, maybe I'm arthritic or what have you. Well, once you start drinking this ginger tea regularly, that's going to help too. But in the meantime, if you just want to cut it lengthwise in half, let me take our skin, the one with skin, going across this way. If you want to cut it this length, you can do that too. Now remember, I have one here with the skin on. I have another with the skin off. It won't make any difference, only in the process before you drink it. Because this one has skin on it, you are going to run the risk of getting a little bit of the skin pieces into your tea. So if you don't want that, peel it. If you do have it do have it with the skin on, you're going to want to take a strainer and then pour that water over the strainer into your cup. So we're going to take the one that's already been skinned, okay? And we're going to drop that in there. And all you need is a cup of water. When I'm talking about a cup, we're talking about 8 ounces, right? So you need about 8 ounces of water. If you have to, you can take a measuring cup out, measure that. So it doesn't take all day. It's not going to take you all morning, but it's going to make a difference, especially for that water that you're holding on to. So now I've poured in hot water, got our skinned ginger. Now we're going to try and bring a little flavor to the table because, believe it or not, once we've let this set for 5 to 10 minutes, it's ready to just go ahead and drink down. But if you like to sip the tea and you want to get that flavor aspect, then I'm going to show you that route. So I'm going to show you both ways. But really, like me, this is me. Like I don't care about how it tastes. I just want to get it in. I'm going to let this set for 5 minutes, come back to it, say a prayer, and just drink it down. Let the ginger bless my body. You do not have to eat the ginger. Remember that. You don't have to eat it. In fact, if you may forget that it's in there, you can go ahead and take a fork and or a spoon and just strain it out, put it on the side. But that's like the bare bones. I want to get it done and keep going. That's how I would drink it. Or if you're like my wife or my mother or my mother-in-law, they like to take their time and drink their tea when they are drinking it. Let me show you a little bit of a flavor upgrade that you can give to it. Lemon is a great addition to ginger because, like I remember I said, it has a bright flavor already, that citrusy flavor, if you will. Well, this matches and it pairs well with it. Very, very good. So I'm going to take a fresh lemon, whole slice of a lemon, and while it's steeping, I'm just going to drop that in there and let that hot water break that lemon down. And so now I'm getting that lemon flavor that you would normally get, especially if you're a tea drinker and you like to add lemon. This is the way to go. If you want to use a lime, you can go with a lime too. It's just not going to be as bright, but you still get that benefit again because you got that vitamin C, which, by the way, is already in the ginger. Yes, there is vitamin C in ginger, but there's also that vitamin C there in the lemon, and it adds another flavor element to it. So we've got ginger, we've got a slice of lemon. If you're looking for a sweet note, remember, we're going to try to be as natural as possible and stay away from that processed white stuff, that white poison that we call table sugar. So what are some examples of a good sweetener you can add to it? You can go obviously with honey. You're adding in honey, which is giving you the sweetness, and it's also giving you the vitamin mineral benefit that you will find in honey. This particular honey is raw. And so if you want to add a teaspoon of honey to that, you can do that as well. Or if you want to go the route of something maybe a little bit sweeter, but not like honey, we always want to recommend stevia. Stevia is another alternative from the stevia plant that you can use as a sweetener. Just a teaspoon will do you. Because remember, this is only a cup of water, right? So you're thinking a cup to a teaspoon, you should be good as far as adding a sweetness to it, and it won't overwhelm it or you. So thinking of stevia, thinking of honey, or if you even want to add a sugar like a coconut sugar. Those are all good routes to go. But remember, don't, and if you can, please avoid the white powdered sugar because it's only going to counteract what you're trying to do. What are we trying to do? We're trying to let off water. What are we trying to do? We're trying to break down and kill and remove bacteria, germs, and viruses. When you're eating this tea and you put that processed white sugar in it, because the sugar is actually the fuel that's not for you, so to speak. It's actually the fuel for the germs, the bacteria, and the viruses that you're trying to eliminate. So I'm not trying to go into a fight with a bat in one hand and a gun in the other, holding it to the person I'm about to go fight. No, I want to go both hands on the bat. So that's why you want to be mindful when you're sweetening things that you're drinking for health. Now, if you're just eating it to taste, then you're just eating it to taste. But when you're trying to eat to live and not living to eat, you have to start becoming mindful of the sweeteners, that they sweeten the mouth, but they don't destroy the body. And that's why we're going through. We're always going to try and be methodical, not trying to preach, but trying to be consistent so that we don't undo after taking all the effort to do what is healthy. So let's try and go with some natural sweeteners. I'm gonna try and drop a little honey in here. Unfortunately, I didn't have the bottle turned over, and because this is the real deal, it's gonna sit there at the top for a minute. So it may not drain by the time we get down here. But I'm letting this steep for a couple more minutes. And I'm not gonna wait 5 minutes for this honey to go down because you didn't come in to watch me squeeze honey or air out of a honey bottle. All right, it's almost there. It's worth the wait. So I'm gonna let that drain down a little bit more so that we can get the honey in here. Let me grab a spoon. If you got any questions, if you got any comments, if I'm not being clear on something, charge it to my head and not my heart. But we want to let you know that you can jump in. All you got to do is send in a comment. If you're watching on YouTube, just go to that YouTube window. And I believe Tara is going to be monitoring that, and she's able to jump in and keep an eye on that and help me keep an eye on that if you do have a comment or a question. And if you're watching our website, that URL is changeministry.org. Praise the Lord. If you're there, you can also just drop us a text. You're going to see a little white box down there in the corner. And that's where you can literally send us a text right now. And actually, that note will come to us whenever you're watching this. And we'll be able to hopefully answer your question or field your comment. So I got the honey down to the bottom of the bottle. And I want to drop in about a teaspoon. I do it so much now, I don't have to actually hold the teaspoon up on there. But what you're going to find is that you are not going to want to put a whole teaspoon of real honey into your tea. It's going to be super sweet because it's so good. So I just put in a couple of drops in here just to give a sweet note so that when I'm sipping, I'm smiling at the same time. So we got a lot of people in the party here, and a couple of them don't dissolve. That's the ginger and that's the lemon. So if you're particular, again, you want to go ahead and get your hands on a strainer, and any kind of strainer that you have will work. I've got a big one here that we use, and I'll use this one for our example here. Here's the strainer, and it's a very small hold strainer, so it's not going to let the big stuff in there. So what I can do is, if I wanted to, I've already got this steeping in here, but before I put that in there, I could have just poured it over here and made it nice and clean. So let me do that for all our tea drinkers. I might have somebody who's watching from across the pond, and I know that they don't play with their tea. So we want to do proper tea. So let me show you how to do proper tea. I do not have a British accent. All right. I'm from DC. So that's the best I could do. So now I'm going to do, this is like, I guess this is the guy's version. Now we're going to do the ladies' version. Make it nice and neat. But it's so, I shouldn't say that because there may be some guys who like their tea nice and clean. All right. So now I've got this sitting here steeping, right? Steeping here. I'm going to go ahead and strain it. This is going to be so beautiful. It's going to be beautiful because I am getting all of this goodness into the tea. Now, you may or may not be able to see that. Oh, you can't see it. But But I see water on our counter. Let me go ahead and wipe that off. All right, here we go. Ginger tea, homemade. You can make it rustic or you can make it refined. However you make it and drink it, like I'm gonna do right here. Mm. What's amazing is that I'm getting just as much of the lemon as I am of the tea. In fact, I'm not getting that much ginger from it. And so when I say that, by me as far as taste, I'm getting the ginger from it because I let it steep. I don't know if I let it steep for 5 to 10 minutes because, again, I don't want us to prolong unnecessarily our time together. But when you let that set, you're going to get that ginger flavor from it that is refreshing. It's not going to be something that burns the mouth. That's going to be the heat of the water, but not the flavor of the ginger. You drink this every morning, you're going to see a jump start to your system. How's it going to jump start? One reason it's going to jump start is because this water is warm. Just for the fact that if you drink warm water, you're going to be ahead of the game because it's almost like an on switch on your gut. And it gets that digestive process moving to get those bowels moving so that they can go ahead and do what they're supposed to do. Then when we added the lemon has that detoxifying power that's especially going to benefit the kidneys. So that's one level of power. Now you've gone and you put ginger, just 1 inch of ginger into that tea, that water lemon tea. Now you're taking it to a whole nother level. And again, we're focusing on getting at the diuretic property from it if we're having issues with water gain or water weight on our bodies. If you choose to drink, say, Chris, can I do this more than once? Absolutely. Not only that, guess what? God gave you this ginger. He's given it to us to eat it. One of the best ways to prepare your ginger, since I was already over here, let me show you this real quick. I mean, this is so cool because it's amazing when you see what the Lord has given us. It's not over the counter. He made it on your counter. That's where he wants this food to be. How can you prep ginger and put it into your food? This is a regular old cheese grater, right? What you can do is you can take the very small holes, these right here on the grater, and that's how you can actually go and not shred your ginger, but you can make it small enough so that it goes into your food and you don't you eat it, but you don't get the fiber. When you look at ginger, when you break it off, you're going to see a lot of small, tiny hairs. It's very fibrous. So when it just goes, if you just bite it and try to chew it, which you can do, totally safe and totally bioavailable. When you do that, you're just kind of be chewing, chewing, chewing. You're going to want to spit it out. So when you're making it with your food, if you're not going to use powdered ginger, which we also have and which you can use and we recommend, but you want to use the fresh one, you're going to need a grater like this, right? Which you would normally use to zest like a lemon or a lime. You want to use that same tool. And now what I'm doing here, I'm zesting. I know that's not, it's not the technical, but it's like I'm zesting, right? Because I want you to see how you can get ginger into your food. I don't want you to have any excuses to not be healthy, right? All you got to do is just take a little grater, take a dollar store grater. And all we've done, I'm almost down to the skin on the other side. Notice how I did not skin this. I don't want to take 30 minutes just to make some seasoning, right? This fiber, this right here, beautiful. Now, remember, I didn't even skin this. If you want to, you can skin it and you'll be good to go. But if you just want to, I just want to get it done, get it in my food. What am I going to put this in? Any savory dish, it's a great addition. It's going to have a different element of flavor. So that's why you tend to taste it in foods that have an Asian profile, whether it's Chinese food, Japanese food, anything from Asia, Southeast Asia in particular. This is a popular spice in that particular food culture. So it's going to go good with rice. It's going to go good with greens. When I say greens, I'm talking about even like green beans or peas. Again, savory foods, not so much sweet foods. You can, you probably seen the ginger candy in some of your stores or health food stores. But this is a great spice to introduce. It's not something that we eat a lot as normal or in normal everyday American cuisine. But guess what? That's one of the reasons why one of the sickest diets and sickest cuisines is American cuisine, because we do not use spices. We got two spices, salt and pepper. That's about as much as most Americans stretch their palate. That's not what God designed you to have. He said, I want to give you the fruit of the field, the vine of the field, and he wants us to be the salt of the earth. And one way we can do that is by eating more ginger. So you take this, put this in your beans, stir it up. You won't even know what's in there other than, this tastes good. And your body will be grateful for it too. So ginger tea, if you got any questions or comments on it, we appreciate it. It's very easy to make and even easier to drink. If you want to chill it, make it like an iced ginger tea, put some ice in there or put it in the fridge. You can do that too. Just have it on hand. But remember, one of the rules of thumb, when you're eating herbs, eat them as soon as you can because they've got those living enzymes. You want to get those enzymes inside so they can do the work that they're supposed to do. That is good stuff. Ginger tea. Praise the Lord. I hope that you drink this every day. Drink it up to 3 or 4 times a day if you need to. Watch that water gain by the grace of God be decreased and give him the glory for what he's given you.